Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling something that I think a lot of us have thought about at one point or another. What does it really take to get to the top in academia, specifically in those really competitive STEM fields? You know, science, technology, engineering, math, and medicine.
Yeah, those are
ones where you see those groundbreaking discoveries being made.
Absolutely. It's super fascinating to understand, what that path looks like to be successful.
Yeah, and to get some real insights, we're going deep into a research paper that analyzed the entire careers of over 2,300 full professors in Poland.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and they tracked these academics over 40 years, so we're talking like their whole career.
Wow, that's amazing because then you can actually see some of the long-term patterns instead of just a snapshot in time.
Totally. Okay, so the big question here is, are the folks who are just killing it today, are they the same folks that were stars early on?
Right.
Or can anyone climb to the top with enough, persistence?
That's a question a lot of people have. Yeah, and I think this study will offer some clues.
Okay, well, let's break it down.
Yeah.
First off, this study is huge EE. We're talking 40 years of data.
I know, it's impressive.
What exactly were they looking at?
So the researchers tracked publications, promotions, like the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
But what makes this study unique is they factored in the weight of those publications based on the journal's impact. It's not just about how much you publish, but where you publish.
Oh, so it's like if you get your research into one of those super prestigious journals, it's like leveling up in the academic world?
Exactly. And so when they crunched the numbers, they found over half of the assistant professors who were top performers continued to dominate as they moved up to associate professor and then full professor.
So basically you're saying if you're a rock star early in your career, chances are you'll stay a rock star.
Pretty much, yeah.
And did they find that that holds true across all the different STEM fields?
Yeah, they looked at 14 different disciplines, and it held true across most of them.
Wow.
Yeah. It suggests that, those early habits and strategies that they developed are really ingrained and benefit them throughout their whole careers.
Okay, so I know everyone listening is probably thinking, oh, it's all about, being born brilliant.
Right.
Did they find anything else that contributes to this long-term success?
Yeah, well, so this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
They found this powerful force at play that they called cumulative advantage.
Cumulative advantage.
Yes.
Ooh, that sounds fancy. What does that even mean?
So think of it like those early wins.
Okay.
Like publishing in those top journals or landing a big grant.
Right.
Well, they open doors to even more resources, more collaborations, and better mentoring.
Oh, so you're saying early success actually breeds more success.
Exactly. It's like the snowball effect.
That makes sense, but it's also kind of intimidating.
I know.
If you haven't hit those milestones yet.
Yeah.
Did this study find anything else?
Yeah, it wasn't all sunshine and roses.
Oh.
They also found something pretty sobering.
Oh.
Very limited upward mobility.
What does that mean?
So they found that those who started in the bottom 20%, they rarely, if ever, made it to the top.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And this raises questions about how we support and nurture talent, especially in those early stages of someone's academic journey.
Yeah, it's a tough reality.
Yeah.
It makes you think about all the brilliant minds that might be overlooked because they haven't had the same opportunities.
Right.
Now, did the study look at any other factors, like were there gender differences or anything like that?
They did, and here's a twist. While gender wasn't a major predictor of overall success.
Wait, are you saying men and women were basically performing at the same level in these STEM fields?
That's what they found.
Interesting.
But here's the really interesting part. A higher percentage of women who started strong actually maintained their high performance throughout their careers compared to men.
So that kind of flips the script a little bit.
Yeah.
You're saying that those women who broke into the top tiers early on are even more likely to stay there.
It seems that way.
That's really fascinating. Okay, so we've covered early success, cumulative advantage, this limited upward mobility.
Yes.
It's a lot to digest.
It is.
What does all of this mean for someone who's listening right now, whether they're, aiming for a PhD or just trying to excel in their current career?
Well, I think this research highlights something crucial, and that is building those high-performance habits early on is incredibly valuable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Okay. Welcome back to the deep dive. So in part one, we talked about how those early wins can snowball into long-term success.
Right, like that whole cumulative advantage thing.
Exactly.
I'm really curious, though, what are those specific habits or traits that set these academic superstars apart?
Yeah.
Are we talking like people pulling all-nighters living off of caffeine?
Well, that's a common misconception.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not necessarily about working longer or harder. Remember, the study looked at prestige-normalized productivity,
Right.
meaning they were consistently publishing in those top-tier, highly selective journals.
So it's more about the quality and impact of their work, not just churning out paper after paper.
Exactly. These academics are strategic about their research.
Okay.
They're tackling big questions, collaborating with the right people, and really honing their skills to produce groundbreaking work worthy of those elite journals.
So they're not just brilliant. They're also incredibly savvy about navigating the academic world.
You got it. They're playing the game well.
Okay, so let's say someone is listening to this and thinking, all right, I want to be one of those high achievers.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them based on this study?
First, I'd say focus on quality over quantity.
Okay.
Don't get caught up in that pressure to publish just for the sake of it.
Right.
Find those big, impactful questions in your field that really light you up.
So it's about making a real contribution, not just adding to the noise out there.
100%.
So what else?
Well, be strategic about your collaborations. Seek out mentors and colleagues who are doing cutting-edge work, people who will push you to grow. Building a supportive network is key.
It sounds like it's not just about individual brilliance. It's about finding the right people to amplify your work.
Exactly. And never stop learning.
Oh, that's always a good one.
Right. Refine your skills. Stay updated on those latest advancements. Be open to new ideas.
I mean, that makes sense. The academic world is constantly evolving.
Oh, absolutely. Lifelong learning is essential.
Like you're always leveling up.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, we've talked a lot about individuals.
Right.
But this study also highlights the role of institutions.
Yeah, I mean, even the most brilliant mind needs the right environment to thrive, right?
Exactly. And the study found that about a third of these full professors were working at research-intensive universities.
Okay.
Specifically those designated as Excellence Initiative Research Universities, or IDUBs.
Those sound pretty intense.
They are. They get extra funding and support for research.
Oh.
So it creates a really favorable environment.
So it's not just about personal drive and talent.
Right.
It's also about having access to the right resources and support systems.
It makes a big difference.
This makes me wonder, though,
Yeah.
how can other institutions, especially those with fewer resources, create similar environments?
Right.
I mean, the study talked about limited upward mobility.
Yeah.
So if early success is tied to institutional support, how do we level the playing field?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's important to remember this study focused on Poland,
Right.
a country that underwent a huge transition from a communist system to a market economy.
Right. And that impacted higher education.
Massively.
Yeah.
Every sector was affected.
So even with those societal shifts and resource constraints,
Yeah.
these high achievers still found a way to flourish.
It's pretty inspiring, isn't it?
It is.
It suggests that there are valuable lessons to be learned from these individuals, not just for academics, but for anyone striving for excellence.
Okay, so we've talked about individual drive, strategic choices, and this influence of institutions. But I feel like there's one more piece to this puzzle, this idea of impact.
Yeah.
What does it really mean to be successful in academia?
Right.
Is it just about the publications and the prestige, or is there something more?
That's a great question. The study focused on publications in high-impact journals as a key metric of success.
Right.
But ultimately, what's the point of all this research if it doesn't have some kind of positive impact on the world?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we measure something like impact then?
Well, it's a challenge for sure.
It seems kind of intangible.
Yeah, it is. But some researchers are pushing for a more holistic approach.
Okay.
One that considers not just publications, but also things like teaching excellence, mentoring, public engagement, and how research translates into real-world applications.
So it's recognizing that academic work has so many different facets.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's not just about publishing in those prestigious journals.
Yeah.
It's about contributing to knowledge in a way that benefits society as a whole.
And that's a great note to end part 2 on, but we're not done yet.
Right.
In part 3, we'll explore this idea of impact further and see what lessons we can all learn from these academic superstars. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've uncovered some fascinating insights so far about what it takes to reach the top in academia and stay there.
Yeah, we've talked about individual drive,
Right.
the importance of early wins, institutional support.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's another layer we need to explore, this whole question of impact.
Right. What does it really mean to be successful in academia? Is it just about racking up publications in fancy journals, or is there something more?
That's the big question, isn't it? The study we've been looking at,
Right.
it used those high-impact publications as a key metric.
Mm-hmm.
But is that the whole picture?
It makes you wonder, right?
Right.
Because what's the point of all this research if it doesn't actually have some kind of positive impact out there in the real world?
Exactly. And that's often where those traditional metrics kind of fall short. They don't always capture the full scope of what an academic contributes.
So how do we even begin to measure something like impact? Seems kind of fuzzy, you know?
It's definitely a challenge, but some researchers are starting to push for a more well-rounded approach.
Okay.
One that looks beyond just the publications and considers things like teaching excellence, mentoring, public engagement, even how the research translates into real-world applications.
So basically, we need to acknowledge that academic work has so many different sides to it.
Absolutely. It's not just about publishing in prestigious journals.
Right.
It's about contributing to knowledge in a way that benefits society as a whole.
I love that. It's like we need a whole new scorecard for academic success.
I think that's a great way to put it. Now, going back to the study for a moment, they focused on Poland, right?
Yeah.
A country with a really unique history and academic system.
Right.
So do you think these findings can be applied to other countries?
Yeah, like here in the U.S. or in Western Europe?
That's the million-dollar question. The researchers themselves acknowledge that Poland's transition from a communist system to a market economy definitely shaped their academic landscape.
Right, so could that skew the results?
It's possible, but I still think there are some universal truths within these findings that resonate no matter where you are in the world.
Okay, like what? Give us some examples.
Well, take the concept of cumulative advantage. It's been observed in so many fields, not just academia.
Really?
Yeah, early success often creates this momentum that propels you toward even greater achievements.
So that snowball effect.
Exactly. It's a global phenomenon, it seems.
Yeah.
And this study's emphasis on making strategic choices.
Okay.
Taking intentional action that transcends borders, too.
So you're saying no matter where you are,
Yeah.
whether you're in Warsaw or Washington, success in academia requires being proactive.
Exactly. You got to seek out those opportunities, build those strong networks, and constantly hone your skills.
So no matter where you are, you need to be the architect of your own success.
I love that. That's so true.
It is. And it's empowering, too, to know that we have the power to shape our careers and make a real impact.
I agree with you there.
Right.
Okay, well, as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of academic success, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
Ooh, that's a good one. If I had to sum it up in one sentence, I'd say this academic success is a journey that requires intentionality, persistence, and a real commitment to making a difference, however you define that.
Beautifully said. It's a reminder that success isn't just about reaching that top spot, but about the impact we have along the way.
And that the path to academic success is rarely a straight line. There can be challenges and setbacks.
Oh, for sure.
But with the right mindset and a supportive network, we can all achieve our goals.
Oh, well said.
Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into academic success. It's been truly enlightening.
It's been a pleasure.
And to our listeners, as always, happy diving.